All right, now this is just some stuff I wrote about, copied down really from other people's work, to be perfectly honest with you. I didn't do this, I just am stacking up the clues. Anyway, this was from a post that was up there, and a girl named Loretta Barry mentioned on the post that, they were asking about that big sand anomaly. And she said, well, it could be Atlantis. And I said, well, that's a good idea. I'm going to take a look at it, and here's what happens. And a part of the post was this. It says around 50 BC. Now listen to this now. Around 50 BC, this guy named Diodorus of Sicily wrote that the Egyptians were strangers in the land they went to, and in remote times. So the Egyptians were strangers who, in the remote times, settled on the banks of the Nile. Well, we know this, okay? So we know that Egyptians settled on the banks of the Nile. We didn't know they were strangers. I didn't know that. Bringing with them the civilization of their mother country. And this guy says maybe that was Atlantis, and I think he's right. Everything falls into place. All right, so they came from their mother country right out of the box, ready to roll. Atlantis was gone. They got to go somewhere. So this is what I'm thinking, and this is what these people were thinking. The art of writing and a polished language was already with them. They had come from the direction of the setting sun, which is the west, which is exactly where this anomaly is. And were the most ancient of men, which is also because Plato says that they were from the gods. And then there's a biblical library of history. Now, then there's a layout of Atlantis, and then there's a bunch of stuff about Atlantis' size and the rings and all that business. And then, how Plato talks about this, and that they settled Egypt, and that the Ethiopians actually assisted the Egyptians and helped them settle Egypt, and they became the pharaohs and ruled over it, and they popped right up there and took over, all set to go. Now they didn't come from the sand, they didn't come out from, they might have come from outer space, I don't know, but they didn't come out of nowhere. So they already were ready to go. They had some fantastic stuff. I mean, we all know that. So everything stacks up. So that's where I'm going to go with this. So far, I can't see any other thing. I mean, it seems to all fall into place. And then now here's where we can find out really if it's true or not, because he gives such a good description of this thing. He says the materials Atlantis, I'm sort of documenting everything. I'm trying to make a database of what happened here. And it says the entire circuit of the wall went around the outermost covered with a coating of brass. And a circuit of the next wall they coated with tin, and the third with encompassed flash with the red light of auriculum. Now, this is a clue right here, this auriculum. I also know, and I have evidence and absolute proof, that much of the ancient world was built with granite, which is not really stone. That's not stone. They don't go out there and dig that out of the ground usually. I mean, they can now that it's solidified, but when they were building with it, it was a concrete, it was a putty. They added some kind of binder to it. Granite is granular. It's That's not what basalt is. The first thing you know, they chopped it out of basalt. No, that's totally wrong. Basalt is a fine-grained crystal. Look it up. And it has metals in it. Granite is metal free, and that is the stuff that's missing, and gold. This is the byproduct of everything else but gold from the process of mining for manna. And I have I got all of this detailed, and the chemistry is absolutely unimpeachable as far as I'm concerned. What they did in the ancient days, we all know they gold mined like crazy. Now, when you gold mine, you get 99% of what you're digging out of the ground is not gold. What do you got? You got like a percent or two of metals. Now, they leach the metals out using pHs and all these different things, but the first thing they have to do is crush the stone to get at them. Then they leach it out of there, and then they take the metals out by extracting them in different ways, adding different solvents and things. It's a process, it's fully understood. And back then, that was called alchemy, and they did a good job at it. They know what they're doing. Way more than we do, as a matter of fact. And electrum was a big feature back then. They used it on top of the pyramids. And granite and all that stuff, that's not a rock. That's crushed stone that's reaggregated. It's an aggregate that's put into a composite stone. And that's why they were able to mold them so fabulously and had these huge monoliths of them where they were flawless. And all they have to do is add a little iron to it to get red, and they add a little of this to get black, and they add a little of that, or take away a little of this and they get white. It's fully understood. And here's the key. At Atlantis, Plato talks about all these three stones. One was made with black, one was made with red, one was made with white. And I can show you right now, and I will show you right now, that is stuff is, a lot of this was processed by giants, and if you believe that Olmecs were around 3,000 years ago, then giants were around 3,000 years ago. I'm going to show you evidence of this exactly right now, and this is also the proof that virtually all the things in the world that we look at as granite is stone, is not stone. That's the byproduct of making gold, and I'll prove it to you. And as a matter of fact, somebody else proved it. The Geopolymer Institute knows that this is not true too. They did a study of this. I have all that stuff. I'll show you in a minute.